Why do I go hiking and camping? People often ask me why I spend my time hiking into forests, climbing hills, walking long trails, and sometimes sleeping outdoors when there's a perfectly comfortable bed waiting at home. To some, hiking and camping may seem like unnecessary hardship. Why walk for hours when you could drive? Why sleep in a tent when you can sleep in a room? Why deliberately leave behind the comfort and convenience of everyday life? For me, the answer is simple. I go hiking and camping because nature is where I feel most connected to life. Hiking gives me the opportunity to slow down and experience the world differently. Away from the noise of traffic, phones, meetings, and the constant demands of everyday life, the forest has its own rhythm. The sound of birds, the rustling of leaves, flowing streams, insects moving through the vegetation, and the wind passing through the canopy create a kind of natural music. When I walk through such environments, I am reminded that there is a world much bigger than the one we often create around ourselves. I hike because I want to see nature at its own pace. A vehicle can take me to a destination quickly, but walking allows me to experience the journey. I notice the footprints on the trail, the changing vegetation, fungi growing on fallen logs, butterflies feeding on flowers, and birds moving quietly through the canopy. I can stop to examine a tree, photograph a bird, or simply stand still and listen. Hiking transforms the landscape from something I pass through into something I experience. Camping takes that experience a step further. When I camp, I'm not simply visiting nature. I temporarily become part of its rhythm. I wake up to birdsong rather than an alarm clock. I watch the forest change as daylight disappears and darkness takes over. Around a campfire or beneath a star-filled sky, there's time to think, reflect, and appreciate things that are easily taken for granted. Camping also teaches humility. Nature does not always provide the conditions we would prefer. There may be rain, heat, insects, muddy trails, difficult terrain, or an uncomfortable night. Yet these experiences teach resilience. You learn to prepare, adapt, and remain calm when things do not go according to plan. You discover that comfort is not always necessary for happiness. There's something powerful about carrying what you need on your back and walking into the wilderness. Every kilogram matters. Every decision matters. You begin to understand the difference between what you want and what you actually need. A tent becomes a home. A small stove becomes a kitchen. A bottle of water becomes precious. A simple meal after several hours on the trail can feel like a feast. Hiking and camping have also deepened my appreciation of biodiversity. As someone involved in wildlife and biodiversity conservation, I do not see the forest simply as beautiful scenery. I see habitat. I see ecosystems. I see breeding grounds, feeding areas, wildlife corridors, sacred landscapes, and the countless relationships between species that sustain life. Every walk becomes an opportunity to observe, document, and better understand the natural world. Sometimes I go into the forest hoping to photograph a particular bird or animal and return without seeing it. Yet the journey is never wasted. Perhaps I discover a new plant, hear a bird I cannot immediately identify, find tracks on a trail, or witness an interaction between species. Nature does not always give us what we came looking for. Sometimes it gives us something better, the unexpected, and then there are the photographs. For me, photography is not simply about creating beautiful images. It is about telling stories. A photograph of a bird, a forest, a mountain, or a wetland can become a reminder that these places exist and that they deserve protection. Every image I make in the field carries a little piece of a landscape with it. I also hike and camp because I believe that people are more likely to protect places they have learned to love. It is difficult to advocate passionately for a forest if you have never walked beneath its canopy. It is difficult to understand the importance of a wetland if you have never stood beside one at sunrise. It is difficult to appreciate wildlife habitat if you have never experienced the silence of a forest suddenly broken by the call of a bird or the movement of an animal through the vegetation. Hiking creates that connection. Camping strengthens it. There is also a spiritual dimension to being outdoors. Standing on a hill overlooking a landscape, watching the sunrise from a campsite, or sitting quietly beside a stream can put life into perspective. Problems that seemed enormous before entering the forest often seem smaller after several hours surrounded by nature. The wilderness has a way of reminding us that we are only one small part of a much larger story. I do not hike and camp because I dislike comfort. I do it because occasionally stepping away from comfort helps me appreciate it. I do not go into the wilderness because I want to escape life. I go because I want to reconnect with the parts of life that are easily forgotten. I hike to explore. I camp to experience. I photograph to remember. I observe to learn. And I share these experiences because I want others to understand why our natural spaces are worth protecting. Every trail teaches me something. Every campsite creates a memory. Every encounter with wildlife reminds me of how much we still have to discover. So, why do I go hiking and camping? Because somewhere between the trailhead and the campsite, between the first bird call and the last light of the day, I find something that is increasingly difficult to find in modern life. Time to breathe, time to observe, time to think, and time to simply be. For me, the wilderness is not an escape from home. It is another way of finding my way home.